Hello. I'm doing something a little different today, and it's just me again. Um, Becky is not the biggest fan of these types of movies, so not that she doesn't like them. She does like occasional ones, but she said she'd have trouble getting five movies together, so um, we decided I'd just do this one by myself. But this is my top five science fiction adaptations. So, science fiction stories or books that have been turned into movies. These are my top five. I got this idea from Steve Donohue, who posted a video, I believe it was the day before yesterday. And I was going to do this yesterday, and I just did not get time. And he got the idea from Grammaticus Books, and I will link both videos below. They're both really good videos with two completely different lists. So yeah, I recommend you check both of those out. They're really good. But I wanted to get this up because I am a big fan of science fiction books, a big fan of science fiction short stories, and a big fan of science fiction movies. All of them. Like, science fiction is my favorite genre of many things, but especially books and movies. But yeah, it's a pretty good list. I've got some older stuff. I've got one fairly new movie on here that came out in the last decade. Everything else is quite a bit older than that. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know what they are, and let me know below if you like any of these, or if you want to post your top five. Please let me know. But they have to be adaptations. These are not just movies. These have to be adapted from a science fiction story or a science fiction book, something like that. So yeah, even a science fiction science fiction comic book, science fiction graphic novel, science fiction manga, anything like that. So if it's adapted from anything like that, you can add that as well. I mean, this doesn't have to be short stories and just text works. This can be from adapted from graphic works as well. As a matter of fact, there are some really good science fiction adaptations of manga. So yeah, so I wanted to share mine. Mine are a lot different, especially a lot different than Steve's. He did have Jurassic Park on there. Mine would have been on there, or Jurassic Park would have been on mine as well. My top 10, but it's not going to make my top 5. Yeah, but this is my list, and I will let me get my list here because I do not want to forget what they are. Number 5 is from 1951, and it's The Day the Earth Stood Still. The short story was written by Harry Bates back in the 40s, I do believe. I believe it was around 1940 or so that the short story came out, and it really is good. It's a very good story. This probably one of Bates' most famous works. I don't know if it's his absolute famous work or not. And I don't remember if it was called The Day the Earth Stood Still or not. Cannot remember. I did some work before this, but obviously not enough. But yeah, directed by Robert Wise, who is an amazing director. I mean, the guy directed some great stuff, including The Sound of Music, which Becky told me right before we started, and I didn't realize that Robert Wise had directed The Sound of Music. But I think that's cool. And great musical, one of the best movies possibly ever made. A lot of people would say that. But I think it's excellent. Yeah, stars Michael Remy and Patricia Neal. And it's got some really good turns by the actors. A really cool alien. Great looking spaceship. For its time, 1951, this movie was pretty well ahead of its time. And it's a movie I still enjoy to this day. I've seen it probably 3 times. But yeah, it's number 5 on my science fiction adaptations. And even movies that are not adapted from works, it would probably be in my top 10 science fiction movies of all time. Even if you add things that are not adaptations. But I love The Day the Earth Stood Still. So if you've seen it, let me know. Let me know what you think of it. I mean, I'm talking about the 51 version, not the Keanu Reeves crap that came out like 15 years ago or something. Yeah, not that thing. Number 4 is a movie. It's very divisive. I mean, I totally understand why. It is a ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous movie with ridiculous turns by everybody involved, including the director. And it's Starship Troopers from 1997. I love this first time I saw it. It has grown on some people and all of that. It's not a book that I enjoy even a little bit. I do not like Starship Troopers, the book. I think it's fascist propaganda. It's junk. It's just something I don't like at all. And I understand the movie has got a little bit of that as well. And Steve Donohue argued that the movie pretty well goes the same direction as the book, in that that it's, well, that the propaganda is not satire in the movie, but I argue that it is. I enjoy it for what it is. I understand how ridiculous it is and how in your face the fascist things are, but they're getting you rooting for these characters. But unless you're already a fascist, you are not going to root for the ideas of this movie. You're just not going to. It is ridiculous. But it's a lot of fun to watch. It is gory as hell. Just extremely violent, way more than the book, but I think it's way better than the book as well. I'm not the biggest Heinlein fan. I do like some of Heinlein's stuff. I love Double Star, and a lot of his science fiction, or a lot of his short story stuff, and I even like stuff like Has Spacesuit Will Travel and some of his works for younger people. I really enjoy that stuff. But Starship Troopers is not a book I enjoy, but it is a movie I enjoy very much. Next, number 3, I want to go with The Arrival, 2016 movie, directed by Denis Villeneuve, with Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner. It's got Forrest Whitaker in it, and it came from the story, short-ish story, the Story of Your Life by Ted Chiang. And it came from a title. It came from a book of the same name, The Story of Your Life and Other Stories. And I really, really enjoyed that story. I enjoyed the movie just as much as the story, maybe even a little more. But I think Chiang's a very good writer, even though I've heard it argued, and I think I agree that it kind of fails as a story. The Story of Your Life just kind of fails as a story, but works very well as an idea. And I love the idea of aliens and humans working together to try to understand each other's language. The language stuff in this movie was fascinating, just fascinating, and the story as well. But yes, I like Chiang a lot, but I think the movie may have been done even a little bit better than the story. Yeah, the whole book is just full of really excellent stories, and I have to read his book, Exhalation, Ted Chiang's book, Exhalation, sometime this coming year, and I'm going to be doing that. Hopefully buddy reading it with someone. But yeah, number 3, The Arrival. I thought it was great. I thought the acting was great. The direction, of course, is very good in this. Villeneuve is known for being a great director, and I can't pronounce that correctly because I do not speak French. But yeah, it's a movie I thought was excellent. Becky and I really enjoyed watching that together. Number 2 is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and it may not be the one you expect. It's the 1956 version, directed by Don Siegel. I like it quite a bit more than the one that came out in the 70s, 77 or 78, I can't remember which one, with Donald Sutherland and Brooke Adams and some great actors. It has, I'm having trouble remembering some of the actors, but I really do enjoy the one from the 50s. I think Kevin McCarthy was awesome in this movie. Like one of my favorite, maybe my favorite performance by anyone on this list that I put together here. Probably Kevin McCarthy would be my number one favorite performance of these 5 movies for sure. I think he's very, very good. It came from The Body Snatchers by Jack Finney, the story, which I have not read yet, so I can't speak to that. I can't speak to the story. I just know I love the movie, and I've seen it twice, I guess now. The 1956 version. I've seen the 70s version way more, but it's because I owned it on VHS when I was a kid, and I think it's great. If you haven't seen it, but you have seen the 70s version, go back and watch the 50s version. It's excellent. I mean, I think it's something that if you do enjoy the 70s version, I don't see any reason you wouldn't enjoy the 50s version unless you just have an aversion to black and white films or something, which I absolutely do not have. I think I prefer black and white films to newer stuff for the most part. I mean, I find myself gravitating towards older movies, older books these days, older music. It's like the older I get, the older my tastes get. So, I mean, I go farther and farther back. But yeah, but I have to get that book. I have to read that book, Body Snatchers. I've heard really good things about it. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But number one on my list, anyone who knows me really well will not be surprised by this, but it's The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982, not the one from the 50s, which I really don't care for. I know some people like it, and it's said that the movie has some really good themes and stuff about Cold War and all that. That does nothing for me. I mean, if it doesn't help the story, then it doesn't do anything for me, and I just don't. I don't see what it does. The original version, it just wasn't. It wasn't the story. The story was completely changed. A lot of the characters were completely changed. A whole lot of the characters, and I know that was partially because they were trying to tell a tale of the time. You know, I get that. I just don't appreciate it. The 1982 version, I thought Kurt Russell was excellent in it. Actually, everybody who took a turn in this movie was very good. Keith David, Wilford Brimley, I enjoyed their roles a lot in this movie, and this is my second favorite horror film of all time as well, because The Thing is definitely a horror film. Yeah, it's a science fiction film, but I would say it's a horror film almost first, but definitely because it's so horrific and gory and violent and bloody and pretty disturbing at times. But man, John Carpenter was just on his game at this time. He could do no wrong at this time. Everything he was putting out from Halloween to I don't know, so to the mid '80s. So he had about a 10-year period there where everything he was putting out was excellent, really, really good stuff. So yeah, I'd say if you haven't seen this movie, watch it. If you don't like it, I totally understand why. This thing is pretty offensive at times to someone who isn't used to that kind of thing. But yeah, The Thing is definitely my number one. It's not even really all that close. Invasion of the Body Snatchers is excellent, but to me, The Thing is far and away my favorite science fiction film that has been adapted. My favorite science fiction film, I would have to say, is Alien, but Alien was not an adaptation. It was a Ridley Scott movie that was original. But yeah, it was, The Thing's number one. So let me know what you think. leave your top 5 below. I would appreciate that. I would love to read some other top 5s from people who may have different tastes than I do. But it does add a little bit of complexity to it in that it can only be um, an adapted movie, a movie adapted from a story. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about my top 5. Make a video of your top 5. That would be really cool. But yep, I will talk to you soon. Thank you.